The cost of dining out in April rose by over 3% compared to a year ago, representing the National Restaurant Price Index's sharpest increase since March 2024.
지난달 국내 외식 물가가 1년 전에 비해 3% 이상 오르면서 외식 소비자 물가 지수가 작년 3월 이후 13개월 만에 최대 상승폭을 기록했습니다.
Yes, so it's up to 124.36. It's been up every month this year. We had a rise by 2.9% in January, 3% in February, and 3% in March. And it's up 3.2% from a year earlier. And, well, things are getting expensive. When we look at one of the nation's favorite go-to family meals, I think, would be barbecue.
Yeah.
Samgyeopsal, the pork belly, is now costing on average over 20,000 won per serving. And that means if you're a family of four and you order 4 servings and you get 2 bowls of naengmyeon, you're going to be spending over 100,000 won for the meal. It's a lot of money. And the Korea Economic Research Institute is saying that 71% of the adults they surveyed are saying they're worse off than they were. Their finances are worse than they were last year. And that one of the biggest issues is the steep increase in food and dining.
What do you mean when you say you're worse off?
It means you have less, or you're making less, or you're not able to spend as much as you were. You're in a worse situation. If you're better off, things are better. If you're worse off, things are worse.
So you're comparing it to another period of your life, in this case, last year.
Yeah. So I think everyone would like to be better off year on year, but that's not always the case.
네, 작년보다 주머니 사정이 더 나아졌다. I'm better off this year than last year. 안 좋아졌다. I'm worse off this year than last year. 자, 그런 표현이 있는데요. 추가적으로 단어 좀 보겠습니다. 외식. In English, we would say...
We'd say dining out or eating out. Yeah, but it's very similar to the Korean, in fact, because it's out meaning out of the home, outside. Not necessarily in the park having a picnic, but we're talking about restaurants or cafes, anywhere, any establishment that's serving food, that can be considered dining out or eating out.
That's an interesting point you make. Dining out is not necessarily the same as dining outside.
Exactly. A picnic is not really dining out because dining out suggests you're paying for the food.
Okay.
Yeah, you're paying someone to make the food for you.
네. 외식하는 것을 dining out라고 하고요. 야외에서 식사하는 것은 dining outside라고 합니다. 자, 그다음에 represent.
Yeah, so if something represents something, then it's a symbol of it or it's a marker of it. It's showing this thing. And in this case, it's representing the national price index's sharpest increase. So it's showing that sharpest increase.
네, 뭐 대표한다라는 의미도 있지만 여기서는 무엇에 해당한다라는 의미로 해석하면 되겠네요. 다시 한번 제가 헤드라인 읽어보겠습니다. The cost of dining out in April rose by over 3% compared to a year ago, representing the National Restaurant Price Index's sharpest increase since March 2024. Okay, let's move on to the next headline.
The nation is seeing a significant rise in measles cases, with 52 reported so far this year, surpassing last year's total of 49 and marking the highest count since 2019, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
우리나라 올해 홍역 환자 수가 지금까지 52명으로 보고가 돼 발병 사례가 크게 늘고 있다는 소식입니다. 작년에 49명을 넘어서는 이 숫자는 2019년 이후 최다치라고 질병관리청이 발표했습니다. So 49 for the whole year in 2024.
Yes.
But 52 so far this year, and we're not even halfway through.
But what I will say, if we go back to before the pandemic, because during the pandemic, everything was shut down for a lot of the time, which means we had minimal cases.
Yeah.
In 2019, we had 194 cases. So that was for the whole year. So we're on track to be less than, if it continues at this rate, than we were in 2019. That said, we've seen recent rises in measles cases across the world. In the US, there have been issues. In Vietnam, it seems there's been a lot of cases as well. And I should say that of the 52 cases, 34 of them came from overseas. So they did not originate in Korea. The remaining 18 were local transmission of these overseas cases coming in.
Measles가 바로 홍역이군요. 자, If something is significant, Paul,
Yes.
what does that mean?
Well, it means it's important, Sue. It means it's signifying something. It's sending us a message. It's worth writing down. It's notable.
Yeah.
So if we have a significant number, a significant figure, a significant fact, whatever it is, it's something that we should take note of, we should observe, we should look at carefully.
그렇죠. 주목할 만하다라는 의미도 있고요. 여기서는 a significant rise라서 상당히 많이 늘었다라는 거를 얘기하고 있어요.
Yeah.
그만큼 상당하다, 아주 많이라는 의미로 해석이 될 수 있는 거죠.
Yeah, I hope that our listeners are significantly better off in the second half of this year.
Yeah, I hope so too. And what about the highest count?
Well, it's going to be the largest number counted so far or since whatever date it is. So highest is the tallest or the top. In this case, we're talking numbers, so the biggest number. And the count, well, we count numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
그렇죠. count가 명사여서 the highest count는 가장 많은 수, 총액이라고도 볼 수 있겠습니다. 그러니까 2019년 같은 경우에는 이제 49이었죠. 맞나요? 작년이 아니라 2019년. 네. 49이었는데 그때 이후로 지금 이게 쭉 보게 됐을 때 잠깐만요. 네. 작년이 49이 맞군요.
Yes,
죄송해요.
2024 was 49. This year is 52 so far. 2019 was 194. So far in 2025, this is the highest it's been since 2019.
I got my numbers a little bit jumbled up.
That's all right.
그래요. 2019년 이후 가장 높은 수치다. 이런 의미로 it marks the highest count since 2019.
Yeah. You know what's not happening in schools today, I think?
What?
A head count.
A head count.
Because there's no school today. Is there? I don't think there's school today.
No.
Yeah, they've got it off. Tomorrow, the teacher will probably do a head count when they do the register.
그렇죠. 인원수 체크. A head count. 다시 한번 제가 헤드라인 읽어보겠습니다. The nation is seeing a significant rise in measles cases, with 52 reported so far this year, surpassing last year's total of 49, and marking the highest count since 2019, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
US President Donald Trump has announced he will hit movies made in foreign countries with 100% tariffs, ramping up trade disputes with nations around the world.
도널드 트럼프 미국 대통령이 미국 밖에서 제작된 모든 영화에 100% 관세를 부과한다고 발표함에 따라 세계 각국과의 무역 분쟁이 심화될 전망입니다.
Well, this has ruffled the feathers online on social media since the announcement because no one's quite sure how this could work. Donald Trump has said that the American movie industry is dying a very fast death, and he was blaming other countries for putting a concerted effort to take filmmaking out of the US, and he described that as a national security threat. So he's threatening these tariffs, but we don't know how they would be applied. Because tariffs you apply to a thing that you're selling, but a movie goes to cinemas and then you sell tickets. So is the tariff on the ticket, or is the tariff on the movie coming in, or on the production? Nothing is quite sure at the moment. We shall see, because the US movie industry often films abroad. Canada is a great place for a lot of movie studios and TV studios. So is it going to tax US companies? Is it going to tax international companies?
I see what you mean.
Nobody knows. And I think everybody is, certainly the last 24 hours online, have been going, what does it mean?
I see.
Does it mean that movie tickets will be more expensive? Does it mean that Americans won't get foreign movies in the cinemas?
Right. I mean, the way tariffs normally work, I just sort of presumed that meant foreign movies in the future would be more expensive to go and watch in America, and so more people would be encouraged to watch local movies.
But, well, for example, the latest Deadpool movie was filmed outside the US. Gladiator 2 was filmed outside the US, and yet it's a US film.
Yeah, I didn't really think of that.
It's very strange. That said, when Parasite won the Academy Awards, Donald Trump did get very angry on social media at the time. He was very upset about it. So there seems to be a history of Donald Trump and movie making that may suggest that he wants to protect the American movie industry in some way, but we don't know what way that is.
You know, on a personal note, I'm sort of curious to know how Donald Trump might react to the recent Korean animation King of Kings, which was released in America. And it hasn't been released in Korea yet.
Okay.
But it was made by a Korean director and it was produced by a Korean film company.
Yeah.
even though all of the cast are English, the whole movie is done in English, and I believe the people who took part, they're American and Canadian and British, but nonetheless, it's sort of also a Christian movie as well. So I'm curious to know how he would react. So we don't know yet, but
it'll be interesting. Certainly, I'm on the English dub for a Korean animation that's coming out soon as well. So I don't know whether Donald Trump's going to tariff me.
We'll see. You mentioned something really interesting, and it was to ruffle someone's feathers.
I love this expression, Sue. Because if you've ever watched birds, and I know not many people watch them that closely, when birds get upset or get agitated, they ruffle their feathers. They move their feathers about or puff themselves up.
Right.
So if you ruffle someone's feathers, you get under their skin. You're starting to either tease them or annoy them or make them stressed or worried. It's basically some kind of aggravation.
그래요. RUFFLE.
Yes, like the ruffles on a skirt or a shirt.
아하, 그렇군요. 그 러플이랑 똑같은 거예요. 옷에 있는 러플이랑. 근데 ruffle someone's feathers라고 하면은 새의 깃털을 부풀리듯이 누군가를 굉장히 불편하게 만들거나 화나게 만들다라는 의미가 있어요.
So we have get under someone's skin, but for me that always feels a bit creepy. I much prefer ruffle someone's feathers as the image is a little cuter.
맞아요. So you said earlier on that the US president's announcement has ruffled ruffled the feathers of movie makers.
Yeah, or ruffled feathers online.
There you go. 자, 굉장히 좋은 표현이었고요. 그다음에 이제 hit with he will hit movies with tariffs 이런 표현이 있었습니다.
So when we're talking about governments and government policies and we use hit, it's not a literal hit. It's some kind of penalty in some way. It's going to be some kind of financial disadvantage. So you can hit someone or something with tariffs, with sanctions, with penalties, with taxes. Basically means there's going to be some kind of financial repercussion.
네. Hit someone with something. 누군가에게 무엇을 부과하다.
Yeah, and for headline number one, we're all getting hit with a bigger bill at the restaurant.
Yes, that's right. In this case, we're talking about tariffs, 관세, and to ramp something up.
Well, it's to increase it, whatever it may be. In this case, trade disputes, making more of them or making them bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. 뭔가를 늘리거나 증가시키는 것을 ramp up라고 하죠. Let me read the headline again. US President Donald Trump has announced he will hit movies made in foreign countries with 100% tariffs, ramping up trade disputes with nations around the world. Now here's our next headline.
Russia's largest ever diamond, a 100-carat vivid yellow gemstone dubbed New Sun, is expected to be sold at auction.
러시아 역사상 가장 큰 다이아몬드로 선명한 노란색 빛의 100캐럿의 크기를 자랑하는 새로운 태양 New Sun이라는 이름의 다이아몬드가 경매에 나올 예정입니다.
This is an incredible diamond. For one, when I read about this, I was mind-boggled to learn that it's estimated to be over 1 billion years old.
Yeah.
Which is just... I can't come to grips with how old this diamond is. It was found in a deposit in Russia's far east in the frozen wastes over there. It was 200 carats, and that's not the edible kind. It's C-A-R-A-T, carat. But they had to cut it down. It took them 2 years to shape it. So now it's 100 carats. And yes, it's going to be up for auction sometime in the near future. We don't have an exact date yet,
right.
But I'm sure that gem dealers and gem appreciators are going to be very interested for how much it goes for.
그렇습니다. 뭐 몇백억 원 이상이 예상된다고 해요. 뭐 못해도. 그럼 표현 한번 보겠습니다. The color is a very vivid yellow.
Vivid is a great word to know if you're into art or gemstones. Means it's going to be very bright or very deep. It has that sense of intensity to it. So we talk about a vivid blue sky when it feels like it's impossibly blue. It's just the bluest of all blues.
Vivid. I don't think we're wearing too vivid colors today.
No, but maybe some of our listeners have a vivid imagination, which means you can picture lots of interesting things in your head.
아주 선명하다는 의미가 있죠. V-I-V-I-D, vivid. So a vivid yellow color means it's not just any kind of yellow. It's not a pastel yellow.
No.
It's a very bright yellow.
Exactly, yes.
What about dubbed?
Well, I'm on the English dub of a movie, which means I dubbed it, I did the voiceover. But here, dub is different. To dub someone or dub something is to give them a new name. Similar to nickname, but actually it can be official. In the UK, the king will dub you Sir, for example, will make you a knight. But you can dub someone a different name if you want to give them a name different to their original.
네, 뭐뭐라고 불리운다라는 뜻이 있고요. 또 우리가 외화 같은 경우에는 더빙을 하죠.
네.
그때 의미는 이제 거기다가 말을 붙인다. 그래서 더빙을 하는 건데 선생님도 더빙 연기 많이 하시고 저도 가끔씩 하는데 in this case we're talking about its name, its nickname.
Yeah,
called New Sun.
So it can be as simple as a nickname or it could be something more official, like the name of a spacecraft.
Okay. Well, I'm going to read the headline again. Russia's largest ever diamond, a 100-carat vivid yellow gemstone dubbed New Sun, is expected to be sold at auction. All right, let's move on to our final headline.
Scientists have developed what they call an unparalleled snake antivenom using the blood of an American man who endured more than 200 snake bites, which have been proven effective, against fatal doses from multiple venomous snake species.
Yeah, I guess we could just say it's proven effective. And actually,
Yes.
If I might make a quick correction here, and I'm so sorry I didn't say this earlier on, I think we should say has in this case, because we are talking about the anti-venom.
I'm so sorry, Sue.
It's not your fault.
I will leave.
Not your fault at all. It's my bad, if anything.
The problem is that because snake bites comes after the antivenom, our brain goes, oh, it's a plural.
Exactly.
Instead of singular.
Yeah. But as you said it instinctually, I think we could just say which has proven effective.
Yes.
And take out the bin.
Exactly.
That's fine as well.
Yeah, put the bin in the bin.
Put the bin in the bin. There are so many ways of writing headlines and sentences. So that's just another suggestion there. I'm going to do the Korean for that, which I skipped.
Okay.
Here it is. 학계에서 독보적이라는 평가를 받는 만능 뱀 해독제가 개발됐습니다. 이 해독제는 이번 개발을 위해 200회 이상 뱀에 물리는 상황을 견뎌낸 한 남성의 혈액을 사용한 것으로 여러 종류의 뱀 독에 효과가 있는 것으로 확인됐습니다. So let's talk about this man, first of all.
He's incredible. Mr. Friede is his name. He's been doing this for 18 years. And the idea is that he wants to help people. And the thing is, it's not just 200 bites. That's one thing. He's also had 700 injections of venom. And we're talking about not from, your average garden snake. These are mambas, cobras, taipans, kraits, some of the world's deadliest snakes. Because he knows there are people who die from these snake bites. And he was committed, once he started, he kept going to finding the best anti-venom. Because usually what we have done in the past is use animals, like use horses, for example, and injecting small doses of snake venom into them to develop an anti-venom. But he has committed his life to being bitten and being injected, and it does mean we could be on the edge of a breakthrough.
Well, this is really good news, especially for a mountainous country like Korea, where we do have quite a few snakes here and there.
But even more so for countries like Australia, where you have snakes that will kill you with one bite.
Right, of course. And this is unparalleled, is what they're saying. What does that mean?
We've not seen anything like it. We can't compare it to anything. If something is in parallel, it's going along in the same direction at the same time, like two lines running parallel. If it's unparalleled, there's nothing next to it, nothing to compare it to. It's unlike anything else.
비할 데가 없다는 뜻이군요.
네.
It's unparalleled. 자, 그다음에 이제 해독제가 바로 anti-venom인데요. 이 스펠링이 anti, 그다음에 V-E-N-O-M. 한 단어로 붙여 있다 보니까 어디서 끊어야 되나 조금 헷갈려 보일 수 있지만 anti 다음에 끊으시면 됩니다.
네.
venom이라는 것 자체가 독이에요. poison.
Yeah, if you've seen the movies, you'll have met the character, Venom.
Oh.
He's had 3 movies with Tom Hardy now.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that a superhero movie?
A super anti-hero.
A super anti-hero movie. Okay. I'm not familiar with that one, but yeah, sure. And what about to endure something?
To endure something is to get through it, to survive it, to bear it. For example, every winter, Korea endures the cold for 4 months.
뭔가 견뎌내는 것을 endure라고 하죠. 자, 그러면 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. Scientists have developed what they call an unparalleled snake anti-venom using the blood of an American man who endured more than 200 snake bites, which has proven effective against fatal doses from multiple venomous snake species.
That was a doozy of a headline.
I do apologize.
So do
Should
I.
have made it smoother earlier on. All right, well, those were the headlines with the wonderful Paul Matthews.
A 2024 survey shows that 7 in 10 households in Korea purchased processed foods online, marking a sharp increase from the previous year and highlighting a significant shift in shopping habits, particularly among younger people.
작년 한 해 온라인으로 가공식품을 구매한 가구가 10가구 중 7가구로 1년 전보다 크게 늘어난 것으로 조사된 가운데 특히 젊은 층에서 쇼핑 습관이 크게 변화하고 있는 것으로 나타났습니다. Tell us more, Karen.
Yeah, so this is according to a survey by the Korea Rural Economic Institute, and it said that online shopping for processed foods surged in 2024, with over 7 in 10 Korean households making such purchases, and this marks a sharp jump from around 50% that was recorded the previous year. And the shift was especially strong among younger shoppers. It said that 96.2% of those in their 30s and 90.3% in their 20s reported buying processed foods online. They said that people are shopping online, or people are also shopping more often, with weekly online grocery buyers rising from 16.4% in 2019 to 37.8% last year. And the survey noted that a growing emphasis on safety, freshness, and convenience over traditional concerns like taste, price, quality, and nutrition in their purchases.
I buy canned tuna online almost always now.
Yeah.
Does that count? That's processed
I'm
food?
sure
Right.
it does. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I feel like there's no difference in terms of the taste, whether I buy it in a supermarket that I go to offline or online. And so if I can buy it for cheaper, and it's quite heavy when you buy it in bulk.
Yeah.
So if I can have it delivered as well, then, why not?
I think that's the biggest factor in people choosing to buy online, because it comes to your door rather than you having to go there, get it, and carry it up to your house.
Right. What's a significant shift, Karen?
A significant shift means that it's a noticeable and important change, and often a change in direction. It could be a position or an attitude as well, and it implies a change that has a considerable impact or consequence.
네, 중요한 전환인데요. 아주 주목할 만한 변화, 이런 의미라고 보면 되겠네요. A very important change or a significant shift. Now, what about shopping habits?
Shopping habits. You could also say buying habits, spending habits, or consumer habits as well. It's the behavior or decision that consumers make or customers make when they are purchasing any sort of goods or services.
쇼핑을 하는 방식이겠죠. 그래서 쇼핑 습관, shopping habits. 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. A 2024 survey shows that 7 in 10 households in Korea purchased processed foods online, marking a sharp increase from the previous year and highlighting a significant shift in shopping habits, particularly among younger people. Let's move on to the next headline.
Korean middle schoolers ranked among the top in academics among 37 OECD countries, but placed near the bottom in social skills and leisure, according to a new report by the Korea Educational Development Institute.
우리나라 중학생의 학업 성취도가 OECD 37개국 중에서 상위권에 속하지만 사회성과 여가 생활은 최하위권을 기록했다는 한국교육개발원의 발표가 나왔습니다. Oh dear.
Yeah, this is concerning news. So they're doing very well academically. They're doing they're the creme of the crop. They're
sure.
very, very smart, intelligent kids. But in terms of their social skills, maybe they need to work a little bit on that. I have a lot of theories regarding this. I think probably social media, spending too much time on their phones may have some sort of impact on this. But, I'm not the expert here.
Yeah.
I'm just a middle schooler mom. But what they are saying is that Korean middle schoolers, they are continuing to rank among the top performers in academics across OECD countries, but they are falling behind when it comes to social skills and enjoying life. So this is according to a report by the Korea Educational Development Institute, and they said that Korean students place second in math and science and third in reading, and this is among 37 countries in the OECD's 2022 PISA data. But the same students ranked near the bottom in areas like peer relationships and autonomy, and it also showed low scores in emotional well-being and life satisfaction. So they're not very happy, and they're not forming relationships among each other. And the report suggests putting more focus on humanities and liberal arts to help students grow socially and emotionally, and developing critical thinking, creativity, and a stronger sense of identity. And if you think about it, although maybe the school curriculum emphasizes these humanities or liberal arts studies, a lot of students are focused a lot on the maths and the sciences because it's more difficult and it takes longer for them to, really master these subjects in order for them to get into college.
Exactly.
So that's, I think, one area that maybe the educators need to work on.
Well, the report is quite depressing, but could you remind our listeners what PISA stands for, PISA?
PISA, yes. PISA is the Program for International Student Assessment. That's PISA, yes.
아, 그렇군요. 자, 여기서 얘기하는 이 국제 학업 성취도 평가 PISA, PISA 이거에 따르면은 우리나라 학생들이 공부는 굉장히 잘하지만 그 외에 이제 뭐 친구를 사귄다든지 그다음에 부모님과의 관계라든지 이런 면에 있어서는 성적이 좋지 않아요.
Yeah.
이 리스트에 따르면은. It's very unfortunate, but hopefully we'll be able to see some sort of change in the way schools are run now that we know that this is the current situation.
Of course. This is, it's a way to improve.
Yeah.
Knowing is half the battle.
Exactly.
Yes.
In English, when you say socializing, you're talking about what?
You're socializing. Well, that's basically when you are, meeting people, getting to know each other, interacting, communicating.
So I think it gets misinterpreted sometimes. People think, oh, socializing, 사회생활, but that's different,
Oh,
right?
no, that's completely different.
Yeah. social이라는 단어가 들어갔지만 이게 사회생활을 하는 거랑은 완전히 다른 의미고요. 사람들과의 교류, 사교, 뭐 교우 관계, 친구 관계, 직장에서는 또 직장인들과의 관계
Yes.
이런 것들을 다 socializing이라고 하죠.
Yeah.
Well, Koreans unfortunately are near the bottom when it comes to socializing. Korean middle schoolers. Tell us what near the bottom means.
Near the bottom, we usually use this when we are referring to like positions or ranks.
Yeah.
So when you are at the lowest of maybe a rank, but it could also be very literal. So when you are near the bottom of the pool, it's when you are towards the bottom or towards the, I guess, like when you are talking about a container, when something has hit the bottom. So it could be abstract or very literal.
Yeah. So you have top and bottom.
Yeah.
Also when you drink as well.
Yeah.
You say bottoms up.
Bottoms up, yeah.
And that means drink it in one go.
Right.
What do you
right.
say in Korean? One shot.
먼저.
Bottom means 바닥. And the opposite obviously is top. So in a list, if there's a rank, you might say, oh, we're near the top when it comes to studying academic skills, but we're near the bottom when it comes to socializing.
Yeah.
Social skills is another way of saying that.
Yeah, right. Socializing, social skills. So social skills, it's the abilities that we use to communicate and interact with others in a way that is, I think this is the important part, that's effective and appropriate. So they encompass both verbal and nonverbal communication because, we have the looks, we have the hands, and they involve understanding and responding to social cues and norms.
Cues, C-U-E-S, refers to sort of signs.
Yeah.
Some things we can get a hint from.
눈치.
Yeah, exactly. The social skills, 어떤 그 사회성의 기술, 사교성입니다. Here's the headline again. Korean middle schoolers ranked among the top in academics among 37 OECD countries, but placed near the bottom in social skills and leisure, according to a new report by the Korea Educational Development Institute.
Global food commodity prices rose in April, driven by higher prices for major cereals, meat, and dairy products, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations.
유엔 식량농업기구는 주요 곡물과 육류, 유제품의 가격이 오르면서 지난달 세계 식량 가격 지수가 상승했다고 발표했습니다. Tell us more.
Yeah, so this is, of course, concerning news as well. So they're saying that global food prices have climbed again in April, and this is according to the UN FAO. The FAO Food Index or Food Price Index rose 1% from March and is now 7.6% higher than a year ago. And they say that cereal prices led the jump, with wheat, rice, and corn all seeing increases due to tighter supplies and strong demand. Meat prices rose 3.2%, especially pork and beef, as import demand stayed strong. Dairy prices also climbed, with butter hitting a record high amid falling European inventories. But they do say that not everything went up. Vegetable oil prices dipped 2.3% thanks to higher palm oil production in Southeast Asia. Sugar prices also dropped by 3.5% as economic uncertainty weighed on demand from major buyers like the food and beverage industries. But despite these declines, food markets remain volatile, with global demand, weather, and trade policies all influencing prices.
It's interesting to see which prices went up and which prices went down there.
Yeah.
And what's a food commodity, Karen?
A food commodity is an agricultural product. It can be either raw or processed that is intended for human consumption and traded in financial markets.
commodity 자체가 어떤 상품이라는 의미가 있어서 food commodity는 식료품이 되겠습니다. What about dairy products?
Dairy products, some of my favorites. So they're foods that are derived primarily from the milk of mammals, such as cows, goats, and sheep. So they can include a wide range of foods like milk, cheese, butter, yogurt, and ice cream.
dairy products는 유제품이고요. 스펠링이 D-A-I-R-Y인데 A하고 I를 순서 바꿔버리면은 일기. diary가 돼버리죠. 요거 어릴 때 많이 헷갈렸었던 것 같아요. Dairy products, 유제품. So yeah, I mean, I like all sorts of different milks. It doesn't have to be necessarily cow's milk, oat milk, almond milk. That's all a part of the dairy food range, right?
Well,
Is it not?
I don't think you would call almond milk dairy.
Oh, because they don't
It's
come
not,
from mammals.
It doesn't come from
You're
cows.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I got confused with anything that is called a milk.
Milk, yeah.
Right. So thank you so much. I stand corrected. Dairy products, 유제품. Products that primarily come from mammals like butter, cheese, what else? Milk, as we said.
Yogurt, yeah.
Yogurt, yep. All right. Well, here it is again. Global food commodity prices rose in April, driven by higher prices for major cereals, meat, and dairy products, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Let's move on to the next headline.
A painting by Martha Rothko, thought to be worth tens of millions of dollars, has been removed from display in a Dutch museum after it was damaged by a visiting child.
수천만 달러의 가치가 있는 것으로 알려진 마크 로스코의 그림이 네덜란드 미술관 전시 도중 관람객 어린이에 의해 훼손되면서 전시가 중단되는 일이 벌어졌습니다.
Oh, yeah. So,
What happened?
I would be horrified if I were the parents of this child. But yes, so the artwork, it's called Gray Orange on Maroon number 8.
Yep.
And it was on temporary exhibit in Rotterdam when this child who was visiting this museum touched it, and it caused visible damage to its unvarnished surface.
I believe the kids scratched the painting,
Yes,
right?
Yeah. So museum officials say the damage is superficial, and conservation experts are assessing how to best restore it. The piece is expected to return to public public view in the future. But I guess we will have to see. I think they haven't really disclosed any information on, what to do about it in terms of how to assess the damage or how, like, if they're going to ask the parents to do anything about it. So we don't have any information on that. In terms of Rothko, he's known for his iconic color field works. His works have fetched nearly $24 million at recent auctions. Museums, they've kind of, I think these days they're kind of keeping this sort of policy to encourage young visitors to connect with art.
Yeah.
But this sort of rare incident, it kind of highlights the challenges of trying to balance accessibility with preservation.
Yeah. When you say that the scratch marks were superficial, that means it's just on the surface,
On the
right?
surface, yes.
It wasn't a deep scratch or a cut, but nonetheless, it was in some ways damaged.
Yeah.
자, 한 어린이가 Grey, Orange on Maroon No. 8라는 이 작품을 살짝 긁어가지고요. 여기 스크래치 마크가 생겨서 일단은 전시가 중단됐다고 하는데 superficial, 그러니까 표면에만 이제 살짝 있는 스크래치 마크고 엄청나게 깊은 건 아니기 때문에 그래도 큰 문제는 안 되지 않을까 그냥 추측은 하지만서도
Yeah,
네.
but sometimes I don't know with the world of art, you never know what's going to blow up. Maybe this piece it might be considered really special because it has this sort of special scratch mark. So it might be worth even more later on. Who knows?
그러게 말입니다. 그러니까 이제 문제는 만약에 이 작가가 지금도 현존해 있었으면 그럼 그 위에다 페인팅 조금만 다시 해주세요. 이러면 되겠지만 1970년에 사망한 이 라트비아 출신의 화가란 말이죠. 그래서 이제 그 본 작품을 훼손하기는 한 것이고 그래서 큰 상처는 아니지만 일단은 어떻게 될지 모르겠습니다. 전시는 중단이 됐어요.
Yes.
This work or works by Rothko are thought to be worth quite a lot.
Yes, yeah. So when you say thought to be something, it means that something is generally believed or assumed to be true, but there might not be complete certainty or proof to support that belief. And then when we talk about worth, it's equivalent in value to the sum or item specified. So when it's thought to be worth something, we're saying it's presumed to be worth such and such amount.
worth, worth something. 무엇만큼의 가치가 있다. 근데 정확하게 얼마다라고 말할 수 없을 때는 it's thought to be worth 얼마 이렇게 얘기하면 되겠죠. And if something is removed from display,
Yeah, so it means it's just taken out from public viewing. It's been, right now it's being fixed, so we can't see it anymore. It's not on public display.
that's right. 전시에서 제거됐다라는 의미가 되겠죠. 그래서 그 전시가 중단이 됐다 이렇게 해석을 해봤습니다. Here's the headline again. A painting by Mark Rothko, thought to be worth tens of millions of dollars, has been removed from display in a Dutch museum after it was damaged by a visiting child. Let's move on to the final headline.
The world's tallest and smallest dog showed that friendship comes in all sizes as Reggie, a 7-year-old Great Dane, and Pearl, a 4-year-old Chihuahua, quickly bonded during a recent playdate, according to Guinness World Records.
기네스북은 얼마 전 세계에서 가장 큰 개인 7살 그레이트 데인종 레지와 가장 작은 개인 4살 치와와 펄이 만나 함께 노는 시간을 가졌다고 알리면서 이날 둘이 빠르게 친해짐에 따라 몸집의 크기에 상관없이 우정은 똑같다는 사실을 보여줬다고 밝혔습니다. Right, so this is adorable.
Yeah.
You have this massive dog and this tiny dog.
I mean,
and
well,
they
you
bonded.
know, even with friendship comes in all sizes and shapes, even for people, why not for dogs?
Yeah, exactly.
So this happened in Idaho, and they're saying that it's the world's tallest and smallest dogs, and they met for an adorable play date.
So how tall and how small are these dogs?
Yeah, so the Great Dane, Reggie, he's 7 years old, and he stands at 1.02 meters tall.
Wow.
And Pearl is a Chihuahua measuring just 9.14 centimeters. 9 centimeters is about this
Yeah.
tall, right?
Very, very small.
Yeah.
그렇습니다. 자, 세계에서 가장 큰 개, Great Dane 종이고요. 이름이 Reggie인데 1m가 조금 넘습니다.
Yeah, so this probably the size of maybe a 5-6-year-old
Sure.
child, right? Or the height of maybe a 5-6-year-old child. So their playful encounter was captured by Guinness World Records, who helped bring their record-holding pups together. So Pearl's owner described her tiny diva as fearless and fashionable, noting that she loves big dogs and even gets her nails painted, while Reggie's owner was surprised by how quickly the gentle giant warmed up to his pint-sized guest. And they sniffed each other, scampered about, snuggled, proving that friendship truly comes in all sizes.
Absolutely. 많이 쓰는 표현이 It comes in all shapes and sizes. 이렇게 얘기를 많이 합니다.
Yep.
그냥 아주 다양한 형태와 크기로 존재한다. 강아지의 우정도 그런 것 같습니다. 가장 큰 개가 네 발을 다 땅에 딛고 섰을 때 1m니까 만약에 이제 뭐 발을 든다든지 점프를 한다든지
yes.
그러면 그냥 웬만한 성인 만큼의
taller.
더 클 수도 있고요. 그 정도로 굉장히 큰 키를 자랑하고 있고 그다음에 작은 세계에서 가장 작은 치와와 이름이 아까 Pearl이었죠? 예, 진주네요. Pearl은 한 9cm 정도 돼요. 그러니까 두 개의 키 차이가 한 90cm가 됩니다.
She would really fit in like one of those big mugs.
Yeah. She would fit in my tiny little
She
handbag.
would fit in your bag, yes. You could carry her anywhere.
그러니까요. 핸드폰도 제 생각에 한 10cm는 넘죠?
She would be the size of your phone.
이거보다 작은 거네요. Oh my goodness, that's tiny. 와, 9cm. 그런데 이제 둘이 그런 우정을 보였습니다. They bonded.
When you bond with someone, it means to establish a relationship with someone based on shared feelings, interests, or experiences.
그래요. Bond. 유대감이 형성됐다는 의미가 있어서 the two dogs bonded. And people obviously can bond as well. You can have a bonding session amongst employees, for example, so that you just get friendly with each other. Now what's a play date?
A play date. So parents do this all the time. They set a play date for their children to get together and play together. But you can also do this with pets as well. You can have a play date with your pets where the pet owners can set a date to have a little friendly session and have their pets spend time together and play together.
Exactly. So when you hear the word play in English, normally you can associate this with a child. So grown-ups don't really play unless it's a game or a sport.
Yeah.
So already with the word play, you think of a child, and a date, obviously. We know what a date is, but this is not a romantic date. It means that two families or more gather together with children.
Yes.
In this case, with pets.
With pets, yeah.
그래요. 아이들과 아니면은 반려동물과 함께 만나서 노는 시간. 이런 것들을 이제 플레이데이트라고 하는데 아이들끼리 노는 게 아니고요. 이렇게 부모와 보호자와 같이 있을 때 하는 걸 말합니다. All right, well, here's the headline one more time. The world's tallest and smallest dogs showed that friendship comes in all sizes, as Reggie, a 7-year-old Great Dane, and Pearl, a 4-year-old Chihuahua, quickly bonded during a recent playdate, according to Guinness World Records. That's it for the headlines with Karen Choi.
The nation has ranked 20th out of 193 countries in the United Nations Development Programme's 2025 Human Development Report in measures of health, education, and standard of living.
세계 각국 주민의 건강, 교육, 생활 수준 등을 측정하는 유엔 개발 계획 UNDP의 올해 인간 개발 지수 HDI 순위에서 우리나라가 조사 대상 193개국 중 20위로 평가됐습니다. And by the nation, of course, we're talking about Korea here.
Korea, that's right.
So tell us more, Jason.
Yeah, so Korea actually drops down in the ranking by one place. So they're in 20th now. They were 19th a year before. However, having said that, their total score that they received actually improved from the previous year of 0.928. It's 0.928
0.937 this year. So it's actually better overall, but I guess you could say other countries have
Also did
improved
better,
as
yeah.
well. So although they dropped in the ranking, actually a slight improvement.
그래요. 삶의 질 그 측정을 했다고 볼 수 있을 것 같아요. 네, 작년엔 19위, 올해는 20위였습니다. 총 193개국을 대상으로 한 조사였는데 when you measure something, or in this case, it uses a noun here. What does that mean?
Yeah, when you're measuring something, you're basically putting a number to something in order to give it some reference or to be able to compare it with other things in the measurables. In this particular case, they're measuring life expectancy, expected number of years that you're going through school, as well as gross national income per person or per capita.
Right.
But you're putting a number to these things so that you can kind of make good comparisons with other countries in order to, understand where you rank or are in the world.
우리가 측정하는 것을 measuring, to measure라고 하고 그 명사 형태인 measure는 바로 척도, 기준이라는 의미를 가지고 있는데요. 지금 얘기하고 있는 Human Development Index, HDI, 방금 그 네 가지가 측정이 된다라고 설명을 해주셨어요. 국가별 기대 수명, 기대 교육 연수, 평균 교육 연수, 그리고 1인당 국민 소득을 봅니다. What about standard of living?
Standard of living is how well you are living, how good your life is going to be. Is the bulk of the nation essentially living in poor conditions, or are you living in first world country like conditions where things are modern, things are clean and hygienic? So just the quality of a person's life.
생활 수준이라고 할 수 있을 것 같아요. Standard of living. 다시 한번 헤드라인을 제가 읽어보겠습니다. The nation has ranked 20th out of 193 countries in the UN Development Programme's 2025 Human Development Report in measures of health, education, and standard of living. Okay, let's move on to the second headline.
Amid reports of a global measles outbreak, quarantine authorities are urging travelers to monitor for symptoms such as fever or rash within 3 weeks of returning from measles-affected countries and to wear a mask and seek medical care if symptoms develop.
전 세계적으로 홍역이 확산되고 있는 가운데 질병관리청은 해외여행으로 홍역 발생 국가를 다녀온 경우 여행 3주 이내에 발열이나 발진 등 홍역 의심 증상이 나타나는지 관찰하고 증상 발현 시에는 마스크를 착용한 채 가까운 의료기관을 방문할 것을 당부했습니다. Yeah, a couple of days ago we learned that there have been a lot of measles cases in Korea, way more than last year. And a lot of those cases were contracted from overseas. So tell us more.
Yeah, so 52 measles cases in Korea in particular.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, a lot of these are from travelers who have come from Vietnam, the Philippines, China, or Cambodia. So if you are coming or if you've been there in recent weeks, then the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency is asking to check for symptoms such as fever and rash. And if you do have some of those symptoms, then to seek out medical care.
Yeah. You just mentioned that the KDCA is asking people to do these things. Another way of saying asking, but I guess a stronger way of saying it would be to urge people, right?
Yes. And that's exactly, I think, the point you're making, where you're asking a little bit more strongly, right? So you're almost like pleading with someone, like, please do this, rather than, can you do this for me? It'd be more like, can you please do this? I'm urging you. I'm begging you.
Yeah.
Please do this for me.
강력하게 촉구하는 것을 urge, urge 한다라고 하는데요. 여기서는 강력하게 권고한다라고 해도 되겠죠. So they're recommending, they're asking, but they're sort of saying you really should do this. You don't have to. You're not going to be punished if you don't, but, it's a strongly advised, right?
Yeah. Once again, I think of the word like pleading, where you're really almost begging for and asking, please do this for me. Like, I'm urging you, please. And in some cases, it could be for your own good.
Sure. And they're saying if you do have any of the symptoms, seek medical care.
Yes, of course, medical care, meaning to go to a hospital or visit a doctor's. And when you're seeking for something, then you're usually looking for something. And they're saying, look for a hospital, look for medical care, go to a place that can help you.
I think there's that saying, it might be a biblical saying, seek and ye shall find.
Yes.
So ye is like an old expression. It means you. Look for it and you will find it, basically, right?
There are weapons called heat-seeking missiles. And what they do is when the missiles launch off of like an airplane or from the ground, it locks in on a heat signal, maybe like an airplane or something, because vehicles like that, they're very hot because the engines require them to go so much faster.
Yeah.
So when it identifies that heat signature, then it's like a guided missile. So it kind of follows that even if you turn left or right, it's not a straight missile. It actually follows the heat signature. So they call that heat-seeking missiles.
Seeking missiles. Interesting, yeah. Oh, I also think of the game hide and seek.
That's right.
We have the word seek there as well. 숨바꼭질을 영어로 hide and seek라고 하는데 S-E-E-K 이 단어가 바로 찾는다라는 의미가 있어요. 그래서 seeking medical care라는 것은 내가 필요한 이제 그런 뭐 의사의 도움을 받는다. 단어 하나하나만 놓고 보면 그래요. 그래서 이게 통으로 해석할 때는 보통 의료센터에 가다 이렇게 뭐 해석을 하면 됩니다. 자, 그러면 다시 한번 제가 읽어볼게요. Amid reports of a global measles outbreak, quarantine authorities are urging travelers to monitor for symptoms such as fever or rash within 3 weeks of returning from measles-affected countries, and to wear a mask and seek medical care if symptoms develop.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has expressed deep concern over Indian military operations across the line of control and the international border with Pakistan, calling for military restraint from both countries.
안토니오 구테레스 유엔 사무총장이 통제선 및 파키스탄 국경을 넘어 실시된 인도의 군사 작전에 깊은 우려를 표명하면서 인도와 파키스탄 양국의 군사력 행사 자제를 촉구했습니다. Again, we're seeing some urging going on here. Tell us more.
Yeah, so there have been some terror attacks, including one that killed at least 26 civilians and injured many more. So some conflicts taking place along the border of India and Pakistan. So they call the area there the line of control. I guess you could say between the two Koreas, we have the DMZ or the demilitarized zone. So they have a similar area that they're calling the line of control.
네, 군사 통제선이 되겠죠. Let's have a look at this first expression here, and that is to express deep concern.
When you have concern for something, then you're thinking about it. You might be worried about it, but it's on your mind. And there's something that, you're either worried or there's something that you wish you could do something about it. And it does mention deep concern. I guess you could say big concern as well, but I think deep concern is kind of showing you it's not just a small surfacey thing, but because it goes deep, it is a bigger concern, of great concern. He is considerably worried about what is going on.
그래요. Express deep concern은 깊은 우려를 나타내다라는 뜻인데 the region in question is Kashmir, right? And both India and Pakistan say the whole region belongs to us. And, they say the same thing on each side, but don't control the whole area. And I guess that's why we're seeing these conflicts. What is restraint?
Restraint is to hold back from doing something perhaps that you might want to do, sort of like resisting temptation. If you want to do something, but you're holding back, you're not going to do it because you know that it's for the better good.
자제라는 뜻이 있습니다. 그래서 여기서 뭐라고 했었냐면은 the UN Secretary General is calling for restraint from both countries. So don't attack so much, or just don't attack at all, I guess, if possible, because civilians are losing lives from this.
Often we'll hear from courts about something called a restraining order.
Yep.
Yeah, and that means, okay, you're not allowed to go near this person. So it's like maybe you might want to get closer and be within the vicinity of that person or
Yes.
approach them or talk to them, but there's going to be something, a restraining order does not allow you to do that. So if you do get too close to that person,
Yeah.
then you could be in trouble with the law.
맞아요. 자, 지금 여기서 말하는 restraining order는 접근 금지 명령입니다. 그러니까 이제 뭔가 위협적인 행동을 했다든지 이제 dangerous한 행동이 느껴지고 그것으로 인한 threat가 이제 감지가 됐을 때 이런 것을 신청할 수 있고 또 restraining order가 내려질 수도 있겠죠. 그렇지만 restraint 자체는 자제. 그러니까 접근 금지 명령도 그러니까 어떻게 보면은 그 사람이 알아서 접근하지 말아라 이런 의미도 있지만 또 이게 강제로 강제성이 있기도 해서 이 단어를 생각하면서 해석을 하면 좀 복잡해지니까 그냥 외우시는 게 나을 수도 있습니다. A restraining order. Okay. Let me read the headline one more time. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has expressed deep concern over Indian military operations across the line of control and the international border with Pakistan, calling for military restraint from both countries. Let's move on to the next headline.
The original Korean musical, Maybe Happy Ending, created by writer Park Chun-hyu and composer Will Aronson, has been named Best Musical at the 89th Annual New York Drama Critics Circle Awards.
박천휴 작가와 윌 에런슨 작곡가가 만든 한국 뮤지컬 어쩌면 해피엔딩이 제89회 뉴욕 드라마 비평가 협회 어워즈에서 뮤지컬 부문 최고상을 받게 됐습니다. Wow, I didn't know about this one, and I love musicals, so tell us more.
Yes, this received 15 out of the 23 votes from the voters in this, and the award here, it's actually been around since 1936. It is the second oldest American playwright honor after the Pulitzer.
Wow. Well, the musical itself, Maybe Happy Ending, doesn't really tell us much about the storyline, but I looked into it a little bit, and it's very futuristic. It's apparently about a robot called Oliver who falls in love with a girl called Claire. So we have sort of like this, very fitting theme of, I don't know if it's AI, but a robot and human falling in love and hoping that things will end up happily ever after, I suppose. I don't know what else happens because they're not giving any spoilers in the article I read.
Yeah.
But it sounds really, really interesting.
Perhaps a good thing. But certainly some very good accolades. It's also received 10 nominations for the Tony Awards. And
wow.
the Tony Awards are basically like the Academy Awards of musicals.
It's the biggest award for musicals. And so if you're able to somehow get an Emmy, Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony, then they call you an EGOT.
An EGOT.
EGOT, which is the first letter of each of the awards. But it's really hard to do because that means you have to have been in a good film, musical, and all of these other things.
Yeah,
and
song performance.
Yeah, exactly.
As well as television.
Yep. So there aren't many EGOTs, as you can imagine, in Hollywood, but there are some. I'll have to look up who they are, actually, now that I've mentioned it. But yeah, let's look at this expression here. The first one is original.
Original is sort of like the first to do something. I mean, you think of like a pioneer when you're the first to do something, but when you have an original, it's sort of like if there's a lot of different versions of something, then the original would be among those the first person to do something. Or it could also be, it's like saying that you're not a copy right? So like if you have a song that's been sung by 5 other people, but you were the first one to sing that song or to
Yeah.
write the song, yours is the original while the other people kind of copied your song.
그래요. 창작 뮤지컬이라는 뜻으로 여기서 쓰인 겁니다. 어디서 뭐랄까요? 카피를 한 게 아니라 자신이 원작을 만든 그런 창작 뮤지컬이죠.
Yeah. You'll often hear a sarcastic line. If you say something that's very obvious, then someone might say, oh, well, that's original. And it's being said in a sarcastic way, meaning like that's such an obvious thing that everyone says. Like, you know, why don't you be a little more original?
Got it.
Create something yourself rather than copying what other people say.
original의 뜻이 원래는 독창적이다이니까 그러면 좀 비꼬듯이 너 참 독창적이구나. 하나도 아닐 때 이렇게 말할 수 있겠군요. What about annual?
Annual just means that it's every year. So in this particular case, we're talking about the 89th annual New York Drama Critics Circle Awards. So they do this each year.
아하, 매해 뭔가를 할 때 it's an annual event or an occasion. 여기서는 the annual awards라고 하고 있네요. 그래서 연례 행사.
Yeah, you think of like the word anniversary. And, you know, an anniversary is something that you celebrate every year from the date of which you got married or other events. And it has the same sort of base word in there, right? Annual, anniversary. It's got the same sound. So think of that when you're thinking of this word.
그래요. annual, anniversary 같이 연상해서 기억하시면 되겠습니다. I do have the list of EGOT winners, and there's only 21 so far in history. Some famous names include Whoopi Goldberg, Audrey Hepburn, John Legend. Who else might you know? You probably know more than me, actually. Elton John, Jennifer Hudson, and Liza Minnelli and Barbara Streisand.
Barbara Streisand.
So you can imagine these people, they sing, they act, they're on TV, they're in movies, they
Very
do
talented.
everything. Yeah. All right. Well, here is the headline again. The original Korean musical Maybe Happy Ending, created by writer Park Chun-hyu and composer Will Aronson, has been, Park Chun-hyu, excuse me there, and composer Will Aronson has been named the best musical at the 89th Annual New York Drama Critics Circle Awards. Now here's our final headline.
The San Diego Zoo Safari Park in California has welcomed a newborn male Maasai giraffe, an endangered species whose population in the wild has declined by 30% over the past 35 years.
미국 샌디에이고 동물원에서 어린 수컷 마사이 기린이 태어났습니다. 마사이 기린은 지난 35년 동안 야생 개체수가 30% 감소하는 등 멸종 위기종으로 분류되는 동물입니다. Tell us more.
Yeah, so the calf was born on April the 23rd, and this is an endangered species, so certainly very good news for anyone involved, certainly with the zoo as well as just animal lovers in general. And as mentioned, 30% that the species has gone down over the past 35 years, and a lot of that is being attributed to loss of habitat and difficult human-wildlife coexistence. So you could say that humans are actually taking a role in the reason for that.
그래요. 거주 서식지가 많이 줄어들고 있고 인간과 공존하는 것이 좀 쉽지 않다 보니까 이 마사이 기린의 개체수가 많이 줄어들고 있군요. 이 서식지를 habitat라고 하고요. 그다음에 아기 기린을 아까 calf라고 하셨는데 calf 소의 아기, 송아지도 calf지만 기린 아기 기린도 캬프군요.
Yeah. We actually went to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park for our honeymoon some 10, 12 years ago. And they have 3 different parks there. So there's like the San Diego Zoo that's world famous as one of the big zoos. There's the SeaWorld, which is like a really big aquarium
Right.
that used to have orcas. And then they have the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, which is kind of where you can see the animals in their natural habitat or a recreated
Sure.
natural habitat, I should say, as opposed to just kind of being in a cage.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a little more interesting to see the animals there. I remember, you can feed the giraffes there and stuff. So, yeah, just like you can in Korea as well, by the way.
Do you drive through like an African safari?
There's different ways that you can traverse the terrains. Like they have, different like segways that you can ride. I think there was like maybe a bicycle option. There were cars because it is large. So
Okay.
there's different ways. I think there might have been a zip line that you can do. So yeah, lots of different options of how you're going to kind of walk around that area.
Let me just add this to my bucket list. San Diego Zoo Safari Park. Okay. Let's have a look at some expressions. Endangered.
Endangered, meaning that there are not many of these animals around anymore. Certainly to the point where, the fear of everyone is for any of these species to be extinct, which would mean that they no longer exist. So if you lose them completely, then we no longer have these animals available to us. So if an animal is endangered, then it's kind of at risk of becoming extinct.
Endangered가 위험에 처했다라는 단어이지만 보통은 멸종 위기에 처했다라고 보시면 됩니다. 특히 species와 같이 붙어서 멸종 위기종, endangered species라고 하죠.
You can use it differently. Like you might complain to someone, you endangered us, or you endangered this project from failing. So you can say that you put us in danger.
Got it.
But typically we think of endangered species, we think of animals that are in danger of becoming extinct.
Right. And animals can be domesticated or they could live in the wild.
Yeah, and if you're in the wild, you're talking about an area where animals are in their natural environment as opposed to being in a human-created environment like cities or urban areas with homes and stuff. So it's just in the wild, meaning that you don't have human buildings and stuff. Sure. It's more where animals can live in their own natural ecosystem.
I think in the Jungle Book, was it Mowgli?
Yep.
Mowgli?
Mowgli the bear?
Mowgli.
No,
the
sorry.
boy.
Mowgli was the boy.
Yeah.
Baloo was the bear.
Yeah. He lived in the wild.
That's
though.
right.
He didn't live in a house
Yeah.
like other boys. 야생에서, 황야에서라는 의미의 in the wild. 자, 다시 한번 헤드라인 읽어보겠습니다. The San Diego Zoo Safari Park in California has welcomed a newborn male Maasai giraffe, an endangered species whose population in the wild has declined by 30% over the past 35 years. Well, that's it for the headlines with Jason Lee.